Okay, so welcome everybody. So from my house, this week's edition. So what we covered off at Fight Club for the week, okay? The theme I used to teach the class was um, complexity, not complication. Okay, so what you want to look at when you with your training is you want to build in a progressive layer of complexity, but not complication. Like, don't complicate things. Okay, I don't know. You have friends. I'm sure you all have friends like this that have somehow complicated their lives, right? You can see it, right? We don't want that. Okay, and I don't know what it is about as we get older, but somehow we complicate things, right? Please don't complicate them. Your body, mind, soul, everything adapts with complexity, but not complication. And both classes on Tuesday as well as Thursday that I taught, that was the main theme that overlapped everything, and it built up beautifully. So let me explain how I kind of wove it together, and then also how you guys can build it into your practice with Systema at home. Okay, your personal practice, because maybe, like, listen, I know a lot of the high level stuff that happens in Systema happens on your own. It doesn't really happen with partners. It happens as the work that you do on your own. Okay, so let's start in general with breathing. So if you stay straight, stay nice and straight, and you're just inhaling, right? So it's inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. It's a very simple thing, right? So we're looking first to establish simplicity, okay? And I like to think of a pendulum. So if I were to swing something, it's very predictably, it goes one way and comes back. So I breathe in, and you can count, like, let's say, I don't know, 4 seconds. And then you breathe out for 4 seconds. And then again, in for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds. And if you like, as you relax, not because you make it, as you relax, you say, breathe in for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, breathe in for 6 seconds, breathe out. So the pendulum can slowly swing more and more, but it's very simple. Okay, it's not a complex thing. We're not into complexity yet. First, we're working with simplicity, and then we're going to add layers of complexity. So so stay nice and straight again. So we'll do it together. Breathe in for 1 second. Breathe out for 1 second. In for 2 seconds. Out for 2 seconds. In for 3 seconds. Out for 3 seconds. In for 4 seconds. Out for 4 seconds. In for 5 seconds. Out for 5 seconds. So you can see, hey Karen, so you can see how, so within breathing, I put in a small layer of complexity where it was building one by one, right? And you can go 10, 15, 20, go as high as you can. Just moment that gets complicated, stop. Like, it's complex, but not complicated. If it starts to struggle with it, right? Let's add another layer of complexity to this. Now we're going to add a breath hold. So now it's a triangle, right? So in, out, hold. Okay. Again, not as a technique. It is a breathing technique, the triangle breathing, but it's adding a layer of complexity to the breathing. That's all it is. It's adding a layer of complexity. So let's try it together, right? So breathe in for 1 second. Breathe out for 1 second. Hold for 1 second. In for 2 seconds. Out for 2 seconds. Hold for 2 seconds. In for 3 seconds. Out for 3 seconds. Hold for 3 seconds. In for 4 seconds. Out for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. In for 5. Out for 5. Hold for 5. Good. So you can see it gets challenging and challenging and challenging. Now, when you're doing inhale, exhale, and hold, there is a way to add even more complexity, but it's subtle. So what I usually do is, so you know that breathing in is a labor, breathing out is a relaxation, and holding your breath is a tiny bit of a suffering, right? It's not really something that feels good to do. Only when you're underwater kind of thing, right? It doesn't feel good to do when you can take a breath. Not taking a breath is kind of like a suffer. The trick is to make those three things stay as close as you can to normal. Like, in other words, don't hate the exhale, don't love the inhale. Like, try to keep everything as the same. Again, that's a layer of complexity, right? A person that can get frustrated without getting mad, it's a layer of complexity, right? A person that can, these are subtle differences, right? Now, you all know the box breathing, right? So it's inhale, hold, exhale, hold. So it's like the square of the screen, right? So you inhale, hold, exhale, hold, right? So you understand this. Everybody got the box breathing? Everybody understand that? Mario, you've heard of box breathing before or no? You've heard of it, right? Again, that's it. That type of breathing is a more complex version of breathing, right? So I don't want to recap that because that's well documented, right? Let me show you how I practice breathing in my life, right? So with breathing, now I want to do random breathing. So random is another layer of complexity. So I am trying to randomly breathe. So now I want you to play with in, out, hold. Like, don't make them the same. So it's like I breathe in for whatever, 2 seconds, breathe out for 10 seconds, then hold my breath. So there's no order. It's really random. And that is a layer of complexity to breathing that will help you build, because basically it's teaching you what you don't want. You see what happens when it's like this. Now, if you find that hard to do, when you go into a crowd, do that in a crowd. So, or in a forest, right? Like you breathe from one tree and you only breathe when you get to the other tree. And then you breathe out from one tree to that tree. So the breathing is very random. It's adding a level of complexity to the breathing. We're saying, I'm gonna inhale till I get to this wall, and then I'm gonna exhale when I get to this chair, and I'm gonna hold my breath till I get over here. So I'm not counting numbers, but I'm using distance. So again, a layer of complexity to my breathing, right? So again, I don't want it to be complicated. I just want it to be more complex, the breathing. Does everybody understand that, or have I lost anybody? Ask me if there's any questions, right? Good. And please play with depth, like a breathing, right? You can this way, like you can breathe all around here, not just here, right? So it's all around. So that's one. So now with walking, so everybody knows what a nice walk looks like, right? You know your gait, something that's very comfortable. So how you add complexity to the walking is by changing the position of your feet. So I'm going to be walking, but I'm changing. It's hard to kind of see maybe here. So I'm changing the position of my feet. So it's like I'm walking, but I'm not walking in a straight line, but I'm walking like in a different pattern, right? So instead of walking in a straight line, I'm walking like a butterfly flies, like kind of all over the place, right? But I'm still walking forward, right? That's the trick. I'm not walking forward now because I'm in a room. So when you're walking, you want to add layers of complexity to your walking, okay? So that say, okay, how can I challenge my walking? So try it now. Walk normally, just wherever you are. Just kind of walk back and forth. Take 3, 4, 5 steps wherever you are. Yeah. And just look at a very simple walk, right? It should not burden you at all, right? Backwards and forwards. And then start to change where you put your foot on the ground, but you're still walking, but the walk is a lot more complex. I'm sure you come across people that study some sort of dance. The level of complexity of some of the footwork, right? It all has a rhythm to it, but some footwork is way more complex than other footwork, right? So my feet are always crisscrossing and changing. Okay. Now play with the space. So I want you to walk with your feet a little bit wider apart than normal, right? So you see how my legs are a little bit wider, right? Not much, don't go crazy, don't do the splits, but look at how all of a sudden, or longer steps. So your steps are longer, right? Wider and longer, right? So this is usually when we step over something or around something. And now keep the steps the same, but change the speed. So the walk is like a hurried walk, a little bit faster, right? So you can add complexity to the speed, you can add complexity to the spacing of your feet, you can add complexity to the randomness of your feet. Awesome. So where would you practice this, right? I would practice this at a busy subway in Toronto. As I'm going through the crowd, you realize that you have to kind of go through the crowd. It's not a straight line. It's not like I'm walking down my street where there's nothing in my way. When you're in a crowded, people all around, and you've got a kind of your footwork and your stepping is random. Sometimes you speed up, sometimes you slow down. Sometimes you have to go to the left, sometimes you got to go to the right. Sometimes you got to slow down, sometimes you have to speed up. So in certain situations that happens. Now, my personal training, what I like to do is if you can't find a crowd and you find maybe a small crowd, try to follow somebody, but don't let them know, otherwise they'll get mad at you. If you follow somebody, it's almost like you're trying to take their wallet or something, but you follow close and try to match their walk. And you'll see that following somebody else's movement pattern is very unusual, right? It's super unusual, and it challenges you because again, it's more complex. You realize that me walking but following somebody else way more complex, right? So, and especially if it's somebody that doesn't walk like you or has a different pace or speed, right? Now I know this firsthand because I have a vacation walk. I don't know why, but I have a vacation walk. I have this walk that people that are walking beside me are always somehow ahead of me, and I have to. They slow down for me because I'm not speeding up for them, so they slow down for me. And you see that their body is tense because the walk doesn't match. Like they're like you see them struggling, and I go slower and slower just to play with them. And they're like, "You can't go any slower. You're going to be in a wheelchair any slower." That's really kind of funny. But I have a vacation walk. That's just the way I walk, right? Um, so I look at my breathing, adding complexity. I look at my walking, adding complexity. Um, does that make sense, guys? Is it any questions? You're good? Okay. Yeah, because I think what I see happening is that people in Toronto, I'm sure all big cities, have lead very complicated lives. And that's why they feel they're not growing because it's complicated. Complex is beautiful, not complicated. This is the theme of the class I taught. I want you to develop skills, but they complex will help you grow. And so I'm kind of showing you how I add complexity, right? Let's look at stretching. Okay. So we're not going to get into a whole array, but think of any stretch you do. Okay, so let's say touching our toes, right? So if I'm here and you bend down, everybody touch your toes. Just try touch your toes. Yeah. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. That's fine. Good. So those are static stretches, right? Those are static stretches. But now what I want you to do is when you get to the end of the stretch, let's say with your toes, I want you to turn just one hand and then maybe turn the other hand. And what you'll find is when I want to add a level of complexity to stretching, because we want to find it in simple practices before we apply it to martial arts. Martial arts is just a byproduct of all the other stuff. So when I'm stretching, like let's say I'm stretching my arm back here, right? So I feel it in my chest. But then when I turn my hand, I don't feel it in my chest anymore. I feel it in my back. So an easy way of adding complexity to your stretches is get to the end of the stretch at the end and twist your hands. One or two. And what'll happen is the whole chain, I mean, I know Graham knows this as a massage guy, right? The whole chain goes straight up and it changes. You'll feel it in different parts. So let's try it. Bend down, touch your toes, right? And then at the very end, one hand. And you'll see that by rotating the hand, the whole body wants to spin a little bit, not a lot. It's a small thing. And then try it the other way. Right? And just pay attention to how just switching your wrist, your palm from down to up went right up your body. And you see that. Mario, you feel that? Yeah, good. Now, so that's one way. The other way I add complexity to my stretching. And remember, take any stretch you know. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care. Splits, Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff. It doesn't matter. Just turn your hand and it's totally different, okay? The other thing that will change it is your head. So if I'm down here touching my toes, if I turn my head to the left or I turn my head to the right, I feel it on different parts of my body. Try it. Touch your toes, turn your head to the left, and you're going to feel it on one side. Turn your head to the right, and you're going to feel it on the other side. You see it? You felt it, right? Good. Karen, you feel that? You got it? Okay. So with that in mind, that applies to the ankles as well. So anything you do, so if I'm touching my toes and my feet are pointed forward, if I now put my toes outwards like a ballet dancer and try to touch my toes now, it's a completely different stretch. Like I can't believe it's even the same stretch. All I did was change the angle of my toes, right? Mario, don't break anything, okay? Start slow. It's amazing to see people that are flexible. Okay. Now, let me tell you guys, Karen, did I tell you the joke about my vacation? Did I ever tell you about this? You know? Okay, Grant, I don't think I told you, so you got to hear this because this is really, truly a memory. The day I die, I will not forget it. I'm on vacation somewhere in Mexico with my family. I'm the one that gets up early. I get up early. I go to the beach before everybody, okay? I'm on the beach. It's beautiful outside. I put some towels down for my kids and family. And then I say, you know what? I'm feeling kind of stiff because I didn't sleep on my own bed. I slept on the hotel bed, so my back's a little stiff. So I start stretching out. It feels wonderful. You know, I'm stretching on the mat and like this, and I'm stretching and I'm looking at the sun. I'm listening to the birds. I'm looking at the buffet. At that exact moment, this yoga class that was being taught far away, like further from the resort, finished. And the practitioners, about 20 of them, were walking slowly by me by the beach. The instructor comes up to me and goes, "Oh my God," he goes, "you're doing this like high level yoga of some sort. It's this pose." He gives me this name of the pose. And I'm looking at the guy like this. I'm stunned right now. I go, "Man, that sounds great, but I've never done a yoga class in my life." I go, "I'll tell you exactly what happened." I go, "I was checking to see if my kids were on the balcony over there. I had a tight back. I was stretching my hamstring. Then I heard the kitchen was open over there. I was looking if the bacon was going to happen, and I got into this pose, like I don't know. And it dawned on me that 500 years ago, some Indian guy went on vacation with his family to Mexico, slept on a bed, slept on a thing, and invented yoga somehow. I feel, guys, I swear to God, it was the funniest thing ever. I was in a pose that apparently is amazing, and I didn't know it. I felt the hot sun on my back. I felt tight in certain areas, and I try to go through that tension. So if you can remember this, start to move your body in a way, like I have a little bit of tightness on this side. So I'm like this, right? Now I relax into that tightness. Then I start to look with my eyes. I look above, I look around, and then I start to move from my wrist. And I start to move from different parts of my body. And guess what happens? I have complexity to my stretching, right? So Graham, I know my massage guy makes me do this. He'll push in, he'll pin a certain muscle group, and then he'll have me move it. I don't know if you do that with some of your things. So it's known as pinning, right? Maybe you can explain it. I don't know if you got that idea.
Yeah, there's like a pin and a stretch. So you push down and then kind of stretch away from that to kind of like you're pulling something. And then also sometimes when I work on something, I'll have them do the action of that muscle. So like a bicep kind of does this, so it does a few things, but as you're pushing, they're doing that. And so it's kind of like working through kind of flossing the muscle, but also like neuromuscularly, like between your brain and your muscle, making those connections better too.
So when I say I'm doing this thing, right? When I say I'm going this way, it's like I feel the tightness, I'm pinning it. Yeah, I feel it's locked right now. And then I start to move around it and it starts to release on its own. I could actually start to really so find tight spots, relax into them. So relax into them and then do some rotations. Hands, wrist, head, ankles, and the stretching is very complex now. Now you're going to get, seriously, you're going to start to develop your own personal like yoga. I'm not joking. That's really what that is, right? So it's a wonderful way of stretching and adding more complexity to your stretching. Now, if you have a partner, the partner can add levels of complexity. In class, it's very common. I'll have partners grab each other's hands, okay? And then they start to kind of together stretch each other. So I'm pulling and then somebody else is pulling on me and we're stretching. And because that partner, it's kind of unpredictable, right? Like they're doing their own thing with their own level of tension. It's also moving me in ways that I wouldn't normally move, right? So having a partner facilitate some complexity in the stretch also will help you too, right? So that's another way of doing it, right? So that's stretching. Okay, that's stretching. Can I move on, or can I? You have any more questions about that? Don't stretch for a goal of like splits or something. I know you're not, but I'm just saying don't do this. Stretch to feel good. Stretch to get rid of tension. Stretch to, it just feels good. Don't do it for any other reason. Like you don't want to be hypermobile. You just want to release muscles that have unnecessary tension. You want to have a good range of motion in your body, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Karen, it looks like you have a question. I don't know if it is. No, you're good. Okay. So let's get to a muscular stuff, right? So the muscular stuff. So push-ups, squats, leg raises, body raises, all those basic systemic, but any exercise really. Okay. You can easily add more complexity, not by doing more. Like don't train yourself to go hard or go home kind of an attitude. So let's just look at a simple squat, right? So if I'm in a squat position, right? So just get into a small squat position, right? Not a deep one, just enough to feel your legs, right? So then I start to kind of move like ankles and knees, but I'm in a squat, like I'm down a little bit. I'm not like straight up. I got a little bit of bend. So I definitely feel my muscles. And I just start to kind of move, right? And I start to move in two patterns, either a circle or a figure eight. So that's the other way of moving, okay? So if you imagine your hips, right, and they make a figure eight pattern or a circle, okay? Small, right? Those two patterns, circles and figure eights, really work a lot of muscles. And they work the small muscles that control joint manipulation, like the small movements of our hips, right? It's not just like a squat up and down, right? But it's a squat with a figure eight or a circle. And you can do it like a corkscrew. You can go every time you go around a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower to the point where, and then you come up. So you corkscrew it around your hips. Set. And then the same with your leg, right? So I lift up, I go up on one leg, and the same idea with my leg. I start to make circles first, and then I start to make like a figure eight. And I can feel all the muscles as I'm making this figure eight with my leg. I can feel all the muscles working, right? And switch the leg whenever you want, right? You start with a circle and then start with that figure eight position. I kind of jumped a little bit ahead, a little bit, sorry. Stay straight on your feet, jump a little bit. Scrunch your toes, like scrunch them, like pull them in like fists, and then open them, your toes, right? Again, scrunch them in, open them, right? And wiggle them a little bit, right? And try to make sure that all the toes, like, you know, like you try to, like you fire them, baby fingers, third, four, maybe you won't, I'm just saying, it's not easy. Most people never think about their toes, but usually it's all of them or nothing. It's kind of hard. But if you look at the people that are missing their arms with their feet, they can do everything. They can type, they can brush their teeth, they can do everything with their toes, even typing. But just start with your toes, because it's complexity. Again, it's complexity, right? You're training yourself to, you know, a personal story of mine when I first started Systema. When I went to my first class in Systema, we did a whole bunch of things, and we ended off with a little bit of knife work. And at one point, knife fell out of somebody's hand. It went to the ground, and the person grabbed the knife with their feet, with their toes, and then shoop, put it up towards my neck with their toes. Like, I wasn't able to do that, okay? I thought that was a level of skill that's really interesting, right? Like, could you pick up something that falls on the ground with your toes? I don't know. It would be really cool if you did it though. That would be pretty impressive, right? So I work with my toes, and now I'm starting to work with my ankles. So I go on the sides, I go on the inside, I go on the toes, I go on the heels, and I'm trying to, you know, bring a level of not just flexibility, but dexterity. Can I walk on the sides of my foot? Can I walk on the inside of my foot? Can I walk on my tiptoes? Can I walk on a heel and my toe? Right? Can I walk on different parts? Again, it's all about building in these different levels of work in different parts of your body, right? Now, stop for a second now and ask yourself, just walk around flat-footed, walk around like normal now. Do your ankles feel different? Do they feel a little bit like a little bit more sensitive to the ground, right? You should see when you add some complexity to something that you do, if you go right back to normal things, you realize right away, you know, things are easier. Okay, your knee. Like to move your knee. So like in a circle. It doesn't have to be very high, right? So you can even do it like this, right? Behind you, right? And then much like you did with your hip, a figure eight. So not from your hip now, but it's from your knee. Again, look at how many angles the figure eight position does. That shape can develop so many angles. And then lastly, with your hip, like we did before. So circles, figure eights, circles, figure eights. How do the legs feel, guys? They feel okay? They feel kind of different? Stomach now, right? So suck in your stomach, let it out, suck it in, let it out. Now, using your hands, right? So push it in one way, push it out another way, and try to kind of wake up those muscles where if I touch here, could I suck just here or do I suck in up here too? Like where you touch, just suck that spot. And you realize, like, imagine the solar plexus. Can you suck in the solar plexus? Don't push it. Can you suck it in? Just that spot, right? You ever watched, I'm sure Cyprus is known for good belly dancers. I don't think Mario's one, but I'm good. No, it's not for me either. But where you touch, you should see when I touched here, this side moved. I just want to, as soon as it touches it, I suck that spot in. Again, it's a level of complexity. So watch me close, guys. Watch, Karen, watch me. So so first I suck it in. I'm not pushing, I'm sucking it. Then later I push it out. So it's like, so I'm not pushing or pulling, I'm just touching. As soon as I touch it, I suck it in. Then next time, as soon as I touch it, I push out. I push into it. So it's like I'm trying to use my stomach, right? I'm trying to use so this is normal. Here's normal, but I can push into it or I can pull, right? So if this is my finger, I can go into it or I can cave. I can go this way. So here's my stomach normal. As soon as it touches, I can go in, or as soon as it touches, I can go out. Just a little bit. So it's not a push, it's a touch, and then my stomach goes towards it or it comes away from it. If you ever watch those sea anemones, you know, they have like in the ocean, they have all these little things. As soon as you touch one, it's like just the one finger pulls in, the one thing goes in, right? Like, So again, when it comes to the stomach area, um, uh, if you look at all the muscles and the way they're, you can see people that can do stuff like this with their stomach. They can move it like, this way, like, or this way, right? Stomach has a lot of has a lot of movement, right? So what I like to do is just get my muscles moving, push them, yeah, move it, because they never moved this way, right? Like kind of move them, right? And then try to make it happen without your hands. Move them, and try to make it happen. Like move something. There's a whole health practice behind this whole area, right? Now, I will give you some personal thing about this. The more you work with your stomach like this, right, like moving it, the less fear you have. You don't realize you store your fears and your worries in your stomach. So if ever I'm worried about something, I spend a lot of time moving my stomach like a massage, but also like a control. And you find if you keep your stomach muscles light, not firing, you're much more okay with fears and worries. Just feel like you don't store the worry as much. Does that make sense, guys? Can you feel that maybe? I don't know. You'll have to play with it, right? But it's so important for me that you see that, okay? Cool. Awesome. Fingers. Start to move your hands. Yeah. So think of think of all the ways a finger can move, right? Think of it, right? Like circles, figure eights, right? If you ever watch a guitar player, guys, just watch what the fingers can do. It's crazy, look what they're doing 1,000 things, right? Those of you who are watching, I'm learning bouzouki, right? And you can see how many like the guy that's teaching me is just stupid. You're like, wow, like you have more dexterity in your fingers than you could imagine, right? So there's this way, and then there's like a lightness to them, where it's like the bones are gone, right? There's like you feel like octopus, like there's no bone. You kind of get rid of the bone in your hand, right? And then that movement, well, the softness in your fingers from your wrist. Yeah. And you start to kind of allow, so my fingers teach my wrist teaches my elbow teaches my shoulder. So it's kind of like I'm looking for more complexity than my everyday life, right? It's not just about fingers, wrists, elbows, shoulders, and then you allow the movement. Now you're gonna laugh. It might feel like Bollywood, right? Like, I don't worry about that, okay? I don't care. But look at the way, as I move my wrist, how it changes everything, okay? How everything starts to kind of change. Behind you, beside you, above and below you, right? Think of all the ways that your hands could possibly save you from something, or push you, or pull something towards you, right? So you can pull, you can push, right? You can do a combination. So just watch me for a second. It looks good. It looks great. So the feeling I have in my head when I'm doing this is that I'm trying to remove, like, my everyday life. I can feel bones, muscles, and tendons working in my hand. Right now, I'm trying to find the spot where I don't feel those things. So like this, I feel the tendons in the back. Like this, I feel the tendons here. I hold my hand just kind of half open where it's very relaxed, right? And I move in that space, right? If I have my wrist like this, I can feel it. If I have it like this, I feel it here. When I hold my wrist somewhere like here, I don't feel the wrist. So I'm trying to find the ways where I can move my elbow. Like this, it's locked. Like this, it's compressed. I'm trying to find the place where I can move my arm and my joints without locking them. And that the movement feels like I don't have any bones in my arm. It feels like a octopus tentacle or something, just grabbing. It's like a rope. It doesn't have any edges to it at all. So if you look at these movements, right, these are very complex movements. There's lots of angles to them, right? There's many angles to the movements, right? So how I change, if my hand comes in like this, when I move it back, it changes. So I'm always, when I change the direction, I change my hand. I never leave my hand the same coming and going. If it comes like this, it goes back like that. I'm always changing my wrist position, right? Good. So how does that feel? How do the arms feel? Right. So when you use them for fighting, right? So when you lift up your hands, like for fighting, right? Like just like that, they should feel like this. Your hand should come up without locking you, right? Yeah, you should feel like they're not worried. They're ready. That's it. So when you do these movements, you know, then for you, you should be ready like a not somebody who's worried, not like somebody who's worried about something, but somebody who's ready for something. You see the difference? It's like your hands are not like when a car comes at you, they're all worried, right? No, it's like my hands come up like I got to do something. I fix my hair, fix my jacket. Like they're ready to do something. They're not ready to worry. They're ready to do something. This is important when you use your hands, right? You should always check once in a while, like the hands feel good. They feel ready to work if they need, whatever decision is made. Now, I don't know if you can notice it, but when my hand comes back to me, it moves me. Okay. So the elbow comes back and it moves me. Okay. Because I understand that I'm not trying to move my head like a boxer, right? I'm not actively moving it, but I'm allowing my arm to move my head position. Every time my arm comes, my body shifts, right? So try to imagine if you knew somebody had a knife waiting to stab you when you stood still. You would always kind of move yourself a little bit. There's always a little bit of movement. The hand moves you. So my hand coming back to me bumps me. So I come out and I bump. It comes out, it bumps me away. So my hand can move me forward, it can move me backwards. So I'm never just doing stuff like this, right? It comes out and it moves me. It's a subtle movement, but my body is connected. Good. So now imagine here you are in training and the guy starts to grab you. Usually what I see is the hands coming to help. The hands come to help, right? Oh, who's here? Hey,
Better too
Alberto.
late than never. Okay.
Famous last words, Alberto. How are you, man? Everything good?
Good. Congrats on your medal.
So much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just finished giving everybody the holy grail of Sistema. Sorry, you missed it,
All
but
right,
it's
no
okay.
problem, no problem. I'll get it recorded.
I'm joking. I'm joking. So, okay, mute up so I could finish this off. So, when people grab you, okay, so again, I remember this, guys. When people grab me, I've trained my hands not to react in a panic. They don't come to my help. As soon as I'm grabbed, I move and then my hands come. First, I move and then my hands come. If you move your arms without moving your body, you're going to make yourself nervous. You're going to panic yourself. Okay, you're going to panic yourself. When my hands move, my body moves too. Okay, so when somebody grabs me, I move. And you see what would go wrong if the bullfighter only moves his arms and not himself. You could see this, right? Here it is. He moves himself a little bit. Okay. When people come at you hard and they grab, you move and then your arms come. Okay. Now, when you videotape yourself, this is ultimate. When you videotape yourself, because it happens a lot for me, just because people film me when I was doing seminars, they would always film me. And when you watch your work, you should, so not me, somebody else watching my work should see the confidence, not the doubt in my movement. Does that make sense? When you don't trust your movement, you can see it. Okay. You should be confident, should come from not a word, from what you do. So when somebody jumps on me and grabs me really hard, of course I move and then I start to work with taking the person down. But I look at my arms to tell me how I reacted. If my arms were nervous, I was nervous. If my arms were calm, I'm calm. You have no idea how much of the world comes through here and comes through here. Okay. How can a paramedic, you think of it, a doctor, a guy shows up, they show up to the scene, and there's a guy who's fallen off a motorcycle in 1,000 pieces. They see it, but they don't tell themselves, oh my God, you're a mess. They see what they need to see and they think about helping. They think about helping that person. They don't go, oh my God, I can't look at that. Can you imagine if somebody said that to you that was trying to help you? That's a horrible thing, right? You're going to see the violence. You're going to see somebody that wants to grab you and hurt you. It's okay. Don't tell your hands to panic, right? They teach paramedics, they teach doctors. It looks bad, stay positive, and you'll find a solution. You have to train yourself the same. When you see something bad, resist the urge to go, oh my God. But don't do that, right? Don't panic like you're going to die. Move yourself, because you've trained yourself in complex movements, not complicated ones. They can be solved and you'll grow from the experience. Does that make sense, guys? Maybe I've lost that. Yeah. So please see somebody that grabs you or somebody that's fighting you, kicking you, or punching you as another way of moving. Like, I move so much on my own. Like, I'll practice these movements all the time, right? You know, I'll practice. And then when somebody finally grabs me or does something to me, it gives me a reason to move. Like, guys, this is the very story of life. If you don't have a problem, you're going to make one. You understand that, right? This is the dilemma of life. So when you have life gives you some problems, well, at least now you don't have to create one yourself, right? At least you have now you have something to work with. Nothing happens without this. So training or training is a way of giving ourselves a problem. And at least we have, so we don't create our own problems, right? Because that's what eventually happened. And just look at really rich people, and then you'll see they have a whole other part of problems than because they've created their own problems. Okay. So the theme all week was complexity, not complication. Okay. So push-ups, squats, leg raises. Take a standard push-up, make it more complex. Change your hand angle, right? One hand, change the pattern of the push-up. Do it like this rather than like this. Do it wider. Do it on a bench. Do it on a hill, right? Change the angles, change the depth, how maybe your hands are closer, maybe they're wider, maybe they're, a different way, right? Go slow down, come slow up. Like, play with speed, play with distance, play with tempo. These will start to really, these will make it, right? And also look at other people, like look at complex music. What makes complex music? Look at the sounds, right? Like anything that does complexity is going to grow you as a martial artist. Okay, so please do that, right? I mean, watch. If for those of you, I keep referring to Kung Fu Panda, right? Watch Kung Fu Panda. That the super Panda was just given more complexity. Hold the water, hold this, go on one leg, and create your balance. These are just complex movements that develop a skill set of fighting. So you got to be able to do this for yourself, right? Next time, maybe I'll bring some water. But we did this one time, a long time ago in Sistema. Vlad had us hold water, a cup of water while people were attacking us. It was fun, but the mats got washed, that's for sure. Everybody spilled everything. It's not very easy, very difficult, very, very difficult to do those things. Sorry, my dog is letting me know that the mailman came. I have to listen to it. Guys, ask me questions. I think you got the topic. Is everything good? You good with that? So please take the normal things that you know and start to add layers of complexity that can start to help you grow as a martial artist. And then apply them when you're training with people in martial arts, okay? Everybody good?
I'll remember that tomorrow when I go to practice.
Yes,
There's
please.
gonna be a,
Don't.
yeah.
So I worked with somebody a week ago, 2 weeks ago up at Vlad's, and he after working with me for a half hour, the comment to me was, it goes, Emmanuel, holy shit, there's not a lot of time to waste. We have a lot of work to do. I go, yes, you got a lot of work to do. You can play, but the play should be with some object in mind. So close your eyes, work with one hand, only use your legs. Add layers of complexity. Don't just fighting is there's not enough time. We have too many things to study to be playing around with fighting, so to speak, right? You know what I mean, right? This is when you're training, like especially wrestling. I did wrestling. We did almost an hour of wrestling yesterday at the class, and I had everybody working, and I showed everybody how I don't choke anybody. Seriously, Alberto, I put my arm out, and people go into it. I'm not trying to grab anybody. I simply put my body on. I put my body on somebody. I put my hands down. They go that way, they go into that choke. If they go into that way, they go into that choke. If they go here, they go into this one. I set traps and people go. And they realize as soon as they go there, it's around their neck. I'm like,
it's around, yeah.
Guys, I'm not trying. I'm simply exploring and the complexity of how the more you try to do something, the less you do it.
That's my goal. That's my goal.
Yeah, don't try. There was a point, seriously, Michael said it to one time, I'll never forget it. I was working with him as a demonstration, and he would have his hands like this, and I would move, and every time I moved, I brought my face to his fist. And he looks at me at one point, he goes, can you stop putting your face on my fist? I said, he wasn't punching me. I was bringing my head because he knew where I was going to go. He just had it waiting there. I went right into it every time. Guys, that's the skill set. That's really special, right? So your skills are so good that you understand where people are going to be. You understand how to make complex movements and how to plan things, right? Your cat will give you some training. There you go. Now you know. Now we know what to get to you. Anyway, guys, enough talking. I'm going to suffocate you guys with too much. Please work with complexity, and you're going to be great. Okay.
Okay.
I'll post the video. I'll post the video on Saturday. You guys can watch it if you want some more. Okay.
Okay. I'll get it.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.